Hi. So we're just gonna go straight to the point. What kind of hardware you need to complete the build of my block 26? So it's quite easy. First of all, you need some random threads or leftover of the filaments. So as long as it's rigid, so not TPU, then you can probably use them. You're gonna use this as the pins here. See the holes here? So use that as the pins to join the parts together. So that's that. Then you're gonna need 2 rubber bands. So the size of this is 4 centimeters in terms of OD, so outer diameter. I got it from my local Walmart store, so I don't think it's gonna be too hard for you to source. You can probably get away if you can only find some loose ones at home. You can definitely try it, but I cannot guarantee it's gonna be successful, right? So no guarantees. Always go with the right size if you can find it. That's that. So except all this, what else? Well, right now you have 2 options. Okay, for those who cannot print TPU, or you don't even bother printing TPU, we got you covered. Okay, we specially buy out or bought out one of the mods from mainland China, so that you guys can use that here. It's called non-TPU mods, and the contributor of that modified design is 谁占了我的8倍镜? 谁占了我的8倍镜? So yeah. Thank you for that. Right now you don't have to print TPU parts if you don't have access to that. So, but the only downside is that you're gonna need to have a hardware of a small sized compression spring. I'm going to have the size here, and you can always refer back to the hardware list in the file folders. So I don't think that should be too hard to find. Probably you can find it from some ball pen at home. But again, no guarantee of that. I'm going to have the size for you. For myself, it's not hard to source, and it's quite easy to assemble. We're gonna cover all the details in later tutorial videos. Okay, right now, for those ones who does know how to print TPU, and you do use a newer generation of the direct drive printers, then feel free to try out my TPU parts. So all you have to do is to print 2 small parts of the TPU. The first one is this, the blue one. So that is for the slide stop to work on a, so we call it last run hole open, right? Okay, and the second small part of TPU is this. See the guy here? You can see the bluish reflection. So that is acting as the spring for the make release, and it never wear out. Okay, so that's it. So that's all the hardware that you're gonna need. So we already covered the hardware needed. Right now we're going to talk about what kind of tools you need to complete the project, right? So first of all, super glue. This is the one that I found really easy to apply for this kind of project. I got it from Walmart and also Amazon. Feel free to make your own suggestion down the comment section. Just leave a comment so that we know what kind of alternatives there. So super glue, and then the grease, right? I tried it. Even without grease, you can still make it work. But with grease, the whole user experience is just got way better. Okay, so if you are in a hobby of nerfing or nerf, definitely you know what kind of lube you need for this kind of project. So as long as you are in the hobby of 3D printing toys, for you yourself or for your friends, for kids, you don't have a lack of the tools to make your end product pretty, right? So I'm not going to waste the time of yours discussing about this right now. Okay, definitely ask me for details if you got a question there. Okay, so what kind of a material works best for a B26? Yeah, I know you guys are super 3D printing savvy, so you know all the right recipe, all the right settings to all the workarounds for different types of material. I get that, but if I may, let's just focus on making your very first B26 work, okay? And then once you got succeeded, you can definitely go wild from there, right? You can try all the crazy ideas. So that's just focus on your very first B26. Make sure it's working. So the material that I'm about to recommend is PLA Plus. So PLA Plus. Some brands use PLA Pro, some brands use PLA Max, so they are using the terms quite loosely, right? But the rule of thumb is to stay away from those who has matte finish or metallic finish, or they are dual colored or they are tricolored. Just don't use that for now. Once you get everything done with your boring first one, B26, then you can just move on and try all the crazy ideas in terms of materials, right? So the whole thing, you can print it with the PLA Plus. If you go with the non-TPU route, but if you do choose the TPU route, then you only need to print 2 small TPU parts, right? I already mentioned that for you. Otherwise, you can print the whole thing with the same material. This is the power spring, right? It's located here. So that's the same part as this one here. So for this part, you can print that with POA plus. It shoots really far. But if you need a better accuracy and better trigger pull, definitely I recommend you to try PETG as well. So print the part, print one out with POA plus, and then print another with a PETG, and you can compare the difference. It's gonna be fun and really easy to replace it. So yeah, that's that. In terms of a print setting, so I know people will be laughing about what I'm about to say, but still, if you can take a look at the print setting PDF file that I enclosed in a file folder, then a lot of you will think I'm crazy. So okay, 10 watts, 15 infill. So crazy, right? Usually we just use 3 to 5 watts. I get that, but if you can compare the print time, you're gonna see in most parts here, it doesn't affect much. Okay, if you really want to have your own setting, at least for 2 parts, I really recommend you to use my setting so that you don't have the failure. The first one is the power spring again. So this triangle here is not just for the added range of motion and so that you don't have a crack, right? Otherwise, it's gonna be too rigid and you gotta not just it may break off here, right? So these triangles does help, but not just that. So I say 10 watts, right? The triangle here, actually you can see the 10 watts from inside and then they merge. Another 10 watts from outside, they merge here, right? Perfectly. So if you only have 3 to 5 watts, you got the infill here, right? Even you choose 90% infill with only 3 watts or 5 watts, chances are you're gonna have a separation here. How to tell if you have the separation or not? Because once you install on it, it's hard for you to see, right? Well, if you got a lot of outliers or whirly birds, sometimes it shoots straight and sometimes it just shoot like right off right or left, to actually bend it and see if you have a crack here. So that's what you will have if you only have 3 to 5 watts, even with the maximum infill. And also, more watts bounce better in terms of all directions, whereas the infill sometimes doesn't. If you try 3, 5 watts and you still have a crack, try 10 watts. Okay, that's it. So that's for power spring. The other weak point is here. So here, okay, because you're going to a pull trigger, that's the linkage of the trigger and the slide, right? And then if you are using metallic or matte finish filaments, probably within 50 rounds, you can see crack here, right? And also here, you definitely need 10 watts, okay? So these are another possible failure point. So failure point number 1 and failure point here. So that's why I recommend at least for this and the slide, go with 10 watts. So for the parts of a slide, I enclosed 2 different versions of that. So one is no support, the other one is with support. So you do need to activate the tree support auto if you are using bamboo. Then you got this, right? It takes longer, but once removed the support, it look beautiful. And then the only thing is when you are removing the support here, just don't force it, right? Be careful here, right? Okay, so that's my original file. And this one was recommended by Troubleshooting DIY. So he DM'd me and he said he tried this, got good result, and I tried it, and yeah, it turns out pretty good. So yeah, thank you, Troubleshooting DIY. So this one I got 2 sacrificial layers, right? So first and second. So once printed, you have to clip it off or cut it off, but it's very easy for post processing. And still, the geometry is not off. It's pretty clean, it's good, except that you got some stringing here, but it's barely visible from outside. So yeah, I call it a success. So feel free to choose between these 2, okay? Here are 3 possible issues that you may encounter once you got everything assembled. So the very first one, especially when you are using TPU parts, is the slide release or slide stop function. If it doesn't always work as desired, I would suggest you just move on and switch to the non-TPU mods. Then you don't have to tinkering with the hardness of TPU, tolerance, the print settings of TPU, right? You just go with this route directly. So that's the slide release issue. The second one is the jamming. So what is causing jamming? That just means this is the power spring again, right? Is the gray part here, the power spring. So the jamming just means the disk got stuck in midway like this. Then if you this happens a lot, I got 3 possible solutions for you to address this problem. You can try 3 of them all at the same time, or you can tackle the issue one by one by order, okay? So the very first solution is easy. You just use grease, apply grease on the front end of the spring, like where it touches the disc. That should address the issue 50 to 60% of the time. If the first solution, the grease, doesn't work, then you move on to the next. The next is still easy. Use the same model, the same STL file, and then you print it with PTG. PTG is softer, so that should help with the issue. If you print with PTG and still doesn't work, now is our last resort, the third one. So the third solution is to, if you open the files, the file folder of the Power Spring, you're gonna see 3 variations. The very first one is called default. The second one is called stronger. Right now, it's time for you to focus on the third one, the very last one, the weaker spring. The weaker spring, all the geometry is different. It was designed to help with the jamming problem. So, of course, there is a trade-off there. It shoots not as far, but at least you're gonna have a working blaster here. So, the third issues that you may encounter is, okay, before you squeeze the trigger for the first time, make sure, see the power spring here? You got a groove here and a serration, right? That's for your thumb and your index finger to rack the slide, right? If you are right-handed, same, okay? Rack the slide all the way back. By doing that, if you have a magazine loaded with disc, just say a full mag of 15 discs, right? Instead of squeezing the trigger, I would definitely recommend you to rack the slide 15 times to empty the first mag, right? So that you make sure that the spring has been broken in. If the spring is brand new, you just replace it or you just newly install it. Never squeeze the trigger for the first time, right? Instead of use the trigger to break in the new spring, you rack the slide 15 times to empty the mag. Of course, if you are doing gangster style like this, right, like this, the slide release, sometimes it will be pushed up by the gravity, right? Then you're gonna have a slide hole open. Don't worry about it, just release it and keep racking. So once you empty 1 or 2 mags, usually it's pretty good for the trigger pull already. Then you can feel free to squeeze the trigger to do the test shooting. By doing so, you are going to lower the risk of have a cracking here. Of course, again, as mentioned, if you already printed with some weaker material, then you have this issue no matter what after 100 rounds or maybe within 50 rounds. But if their adhesion is good and you do have the 10 walls as suggested here, then I don't think you're gonna have any problem.